As I was preparing for this video, guess what happened? Texas A&M lost another football player. That makes 24 since the transfer portal opened on December 5th. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, chronicling the Aggies saga and Jimbo Fisher. We posted a video after the Appalachian State game, and we highlighted right then the failure of Jimbo Fisher's program at Texas A&M. The great recruiting successes based on his recruiting prowess, and then put together that with NIL, and that the team had been decent on the field, highlighted by a 2020 season, COVID year, 9-1 and Orange Bowl victory, but otherwise lackluster, mediocrity, fringe top 25 team under Jimbo Fisher in now a 5th season. Okay, that was after losing to App State. And then the season continued to crumble and derail under Jimbo Fisher's offense in particular. Okay, now we hit the offseason and we see players leaving left and right and left. Players are leaving every school, so let's not blow this out of proportion when we say 24 players. The player range, the average, I would guess, would be in the 8 to 10 range at this point, with the transfer portal humming for the past 5 to 6 days. But at Texas A&M, it is alarming. It is alarming based on the quality of player. Not that most of these players are proven on the field, but their talent evaluations coming out of high school, first rate. That 2022 class, the number 1 rated class in the history of college football recruiting rankings, is slipping by the day. Let's run down some of these players. I'm not going to run down all of them, but we're going to highlight that we've got, out of these player departures, 8 top 10 players at their positions coming out of high school. 7 top 100 players in the nation. Texas A&M is losing talent. If they acquire this talent, we know that they acquired the talent based partially, fully, to some extent due to the NIL collectives and all the rich oil money in Texas. Why are they losing this money? Probably because players can look around and figure, this is not a good situation at Texas A&M. There are players leaving schools all over the country for various reasons. The most notable one is that they are stuck behind a talented position group and can't get on the field. They have other opportunities elsewhere, or their coaching staff is pushing them out the door to say, look at the situation here. You're not playing. There's a good reason why. You could probably find some playing time somewhere else. And again, it's impossible for us to measure at this point the impact of NIL. But look at what's happening at Texas A&M. Just here in the last few minutes, they had another player, wide receiver Devin Price, hit the transfer portal. A 2020 commit, 3-star, caught 5 passes at Texas A&M. Doesn't matter. Non-factor there. But that 2022 class, the number 1 in the nation, number 3 wide receiver in the country, Chris Marshall, gone. He caught 11 passes last year for 108 yards, just starting to show his potential at the collegiate level. Cornerback Denver Harris had 14 tackles in his freshman season. He was the number 4 cornerback in the country. P.J. Williams, offensive tackle, the 8th ranked offensive tackle in that 2022 class. Other notables, as you see the players and their rankings and contributions there at Texas A&M. Other notables from other classes, Haynes King, quarterback who won the job from Zach Calzada, coming out of camp in 2021, started 2 games, got hurt the 3rd game that he started at Colorado, never saw the field again in 2021. Lost the job this season coming out of camp to Max Johnson, got to play considerable time, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He got hurt. His most notable performance was the game against Alabama, in which he threw the ball into the end zone to try to pull off an upset for a 2nd consecutive season against the Tide. Then lost the job to Connor Weigman, or I believe that's what he's expecting. Connor Weigman, the 5-star, came in, played admirably considering the circumstances and the outdated offense and all the turmoil and the defunct season at that point. So Haynes King sees the writing on the wall, doesn't believe that he can start at A&M, and leaves. Another notable player just hit the portal here in the last 2 hours. That is L.J. Johnson Jr. He was a running back, top 10 player coming out of high school, 5th rated running back in the country. And he was on the depth chart at number 2 to open the season. He dropped 2 spots to number 4 on the depth chart, carried the ball 10 times for a couple touchdowns in meaningful games against Mississippi State and Miami. So L.J. Johnson Jr. hits the portal for Texas A&M. Probably the biggest veteran contributors leaving this Texas A&M team would be one cornerback Miles Jones. Played 37 games for the Aggies at corner, racked up 124 tackles, but none over the last 2 seasons. Injuries and lack of playing time. Other guys stepping up and surpassing him on the depth chart. Miles Jones had 4 career picks. Also, Chase Lane, remember the season he turned in 2020? The Orange Bowl top 5 finish. Chase Lane caught 29 passes that season with 2 touchdowns, 49 catches for his entire A&M career. And he says, according to Twitter, that he's going to stay at A&M through the spring semester, get his master's degree, then he's moving on to play football elsewhere. And again, the departures in terms of talent, productivity, and especially potential significant in terms of quality and quantity if you put it all together compared to other teams across the nation. Let's look at what Texas A&M football has given us on the field over the past year and a half. Something in that range. Since that magical night against Alabama at Kyle Field, the last-second field goal to down the mighty Tide, the number 1 team in the country, 31-28. That led to a 4-game winning streak. Since then, to conclude 2021 into 2022, Texas A&M football is 6-9. Texas A&M football against the SEC is 2-8. 3-8 against FBS competition. 6 consecutive losses. The App State loss. And then also the win out of conference in what was supposed to be a big game against Miami. Well, Miami turned out to be a dumpster fire themselves this season. Arguably worse than Texas A&M. And maybe the indication of where this program has fallen may be the best described and illustrated by the effort against UMass, one of the worst teams in college football. This was a 13-3 game in the fourth quarter before A&M tucked it away at 20-3. 13-3, basically no offense in that game. And now the recruiting efforts. We don't want to paint a completely dark picture because that would not be accurate. This recruiting class, coming off that number 1 all-time class in 2022 that's being compromised, would love to see that re-ranked, is number 18 in the country. So that would seem to be a sharp drop-off. But let's consider there's only, at this point, 12 hard commits. That's much lower than their competition. So either Texas A&M is going to bring in a light class and the transfer portal is going to be kind to Jimbo Fisher, or they're really going to bring in a haul here in the next 10 days and then in February. But most of the players are now signed in the early signing period of December. Understand that the 18th rated class is also number 4 in average player ranking. So it's a high quality class. But will they keep the likes of number 1 defensive lineman David DJ Hicks? They did pick up a nice addition here in the last 24 hours from the number 2 rated running back in the nation, Reuben Owens. I'm not going to bash Texas A&M to say all signs pointing downward, because that's not the truth. Mixed results in the recruiting cycle, mixed results in the transfer portal, because we have to still await where players will be headed. So all college football teams right now are just basically experiencing losses in the transfer portal. We're going to see over the next 10 days to 30 days. Of course, it's this period that's going to end close to the national championship game. Who is gaining quality talent and quantity of talent? Texas A&M, of course, needs both. Jimbo Fisher, your reputation, your legacy, maybe not your job, is on the line. That's for others to decide whether they can come up with the money. Texas money is different than money elsewhere. So I know the buyout is considerable. It's amazing. It's ridiculous. But again, transition that into Texas dollars, and it may not be completely daunting for Texas A&M boosters to pull off. Your thoughts down below on Texas A&M's plight. National Signing Day is coming up in about 10 days, right here at the Voice of College Football.